Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Nightly Sports Call.
Thank you very much, Paul and JB. Welcome, everybody, to the Allegheny Health Network Nightly Sports Call. I'm your host, Josh Taylor, on a night where it can breathe a little bit easier, a little bit of a better night to enjoy on the evening of a Steelers win, especially a Steelers win in Baltimore, which hasn't been easy to come by in recent years. But for the Steelers to go into, as Mike Tomlin likes to say, a hostile environment and get a win against the Ravens and find themselves in first place in the AFC North is a good position to be in after 4 games. We are at the quarter pole of the season. Steelers at 3-1. So a lot to actually look at for right now and be happy with. Even though you look at last week's loss to Chicago, that was a frustrating situation. It left a bad taste in this team's mouth. And I know some people probably still aren't happy with the offense maybe as a whole. This was a game where they at least found something to accentuate, and they did well with it, in particular the running game. And Le'Veon Bell, as much as criticism as he's seen in the past few weeks, as much as he's criticized himself, even saying this past week that he hadn't been the marquee guy. He hadn't been the special player that he's been in his first 4 years in the league. Today, he actually showed up and did what he needed to do. Over 180 total yards from scrimmage, takes over in the run game, runs for another 140, couple of touchdowns. He helped pace this offense, and I thought from the very beginning of this game, I thought it was self-evident when the starters that were listed were the usual 5 linemen, quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, wide receiver Antonio Brown. Then you had the 2 tight ends, Jesse James and Vance McDonald, and then Le'Veon Bell and Roosevelt Nix. I thought they made it clear from the beginning that the running game was going to be a big part of this game plan, and they made it work. And Le'Veon Bell said after the game that the holes weren't opening up immediately at the beginning, but eventually over time, the offensive line kept working at it. Those holes started to open, and you saw those big gains happen. And really, the guy who got it started was a guy who a lot of people want to see more of in James Conner. He broke a big gain in that first drive of the game for the Steelers. I thought that was big for them. So to see him get started the way he did, I thought that was huge. And then you saw things open up later on with Le'Veon Bell, both in the running game and in the passing game. But make no mistake about it, this was his game as far as different guys contributing to the offense and having marquee days. This was Le'Veon Bell's day. You can argue the game against Cleveland, that was Antonio Brown's day. The game against Minnesota, that was Martavis Bryant's day. Last week against Chicago, whose day was it really? Not really certain. But this one belonged to Le'Veon Bell, and this one belonged to the running game. And the offensive line, I thought, had their best performance so far in 4 games this season. So a lot to be happy about there. Taking your phone calls, 412-575-2600 is the number on the Bordas & Bordas hotline. Also taking your tweets at Josh Taylor HD. Want to get your thoughts on this game, and especially considering the fact that we mentioned the Steelers at 3-1 in first place in the AFC North. In a league right now, when you look around the standings, you have teams like New England that are 2-2. There's only one undefeated team remaining right now in the NFL after only nearly 4 weeks completed, and that might change tomorrow night. If Washington knocks off Kansas City, then there'll be no teams undefeated remaining in this league. So right now, the Steelers are in a pretty good position. They're a half game out of the #1 spot in the AFC. If you're going to look at the big picture, what you're aspiring towards, if you're the Steelers, the one thing is you want to win the division, obviously, but you want to be in a good position where you have home field advantage or at least a couple of home games to set you up to get into the AFC Championship game. And right now, they're a half game away from that #1 spot in the AFC at the quarter pole. Now, there's 12 games left to play, obviously, but that's a good position for this team to be in. Another thing I look at, the defense puts up another strong effort as far as giving up only 9 points in this game. And I thought that was a big thing. When you look at this game, the game against Minnesota, both 26-9 efforts. Obviously, the defense a little bit stronger in the Minnesota game, but their ability to come up with big turnovers in the fourth quarter after the offense stalls out, I thought that was huge. That's a big break in this game when Baltimore had many opportunities to come back, but the defense slammed the door when they needed to. In the meantime, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll take your calls. We'll answer your tweets. See you in a minute.